So I try to stay really positive in everything that I'm putting on social media. And coming out of the cage, I was feeling pretty frustrated. But after watching the fight back a couple times, it was, a lot more competitive. And I thought I showed myself, pretty well. And some, I'm not faking anything. I don't have a gimmick. I'm not running my mouth to get attention. All of the attention I've gotten is something that isn't the biggest thing that's important to me is I think I have a lot of respect from other fighters that are at the similar level that I am, and I just.
All right, guys, this is Crazy Kev here, and I'm here with Kegan Genrich. Kegan, how we doing, my man?
I'm doing great, man. Nice to meet you.
No, thank you so much. And Kegan, man, talk to us a little bit more about your last fight that you had, your performance, and how you're feeling.
And I'm feeling good. I've been back in the gym really for I guess the fight was just a couple weeks ago, but I got back in the gym pretty much right away. I didn't take any injuries. Coming out of the cage, I was feeling pretty frustrated, but after watching the fight back a couple times, it was, a lot more competitive. And I thought I showed myself, pretty well in some areas, and, took some things that I'm going to grow and get better at. But I really don't feel like my confidence took much of a hit. I really think that Richie Lewis is probably one of the best lightweights in the world right now. I think that he will get into the UFC very soon and continue on his winning ways. I don't think there are many guys in the world right now that Richie wouldn't take down and control like that. He's really a strong grappler and a strong wrestler, and he knows his strengths and he gets to it. So I'm not real down on myself. I'm gonna keep after it, and I really think I'm only a couple of big wins away from getting to the UFC where I want to be. So I'm just gonna stay after it, and I think that loss to Richie will end up aging really well someday.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely agree with you. I definitely think it's going to age a lot better. And with that being said, too, with your fighting career, man, you mentioned you were doing a little bit of like watching the film after the fight. How quickly were you watching the film after that fight?
Probably the next day. I came out of the cage feeling pretty just salty about it. Just a little frustrated with myself. Feeling like I wish I would have had. Every fighter has a ton of hindsight, and the hindsight is always 20/20. But I came out of the cage, thinking about my game plan and wishing I would have maybe approached the fight a little bit differently, in the sense that I really should have been trying to just take rounds off of him. I thought over 5 rounds I would eventually wear him out and get him out of there against Jacoby. But looking back, the game plan of tapping out a world champion wrestler like that's a big ask. So I think I should have probably been just chipping away with the striking a little bit more and trying to steal some rounds in there. But I got some messages from some of my coaches were like, man, you look good in there. You did fine. Your striking was great. So after I got some of those messages, I went back and watched, and I was like, oh, you guys are right. It wasn't, rounds 4 and 5, I got held down a lot. So I think at the end of the fight, I had a bad taste in my mouth, but I had some moments in that fight, and I'll definitely take some things from that fight and grow from it, both with strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, another thing I'm curious about too, when you are getting controlled and stuff on the ground, what is maybe like the most tiring part about, when you're on the bottom and stuff like that?
He landed some good elbows, some good ground and pound. So I think the mixture of, getting tired, trying to get up, and taking a little bit of damage, it kind of multiplies itself. And, that's usually what I do to other guys in there. So I kind of got a taste of my own medicine, and that's how the game goes. And Richie's really good at what he does. And there's some things I could have done better. But that's the most tired I've ever left the cage feeling, for sure.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned, you think you're a couple of fights away from maybe making the UFC. How active do you want to be this year in 2024?
So coming out of that fight with no injuries and doing a full camp to get ready for a 5-round fight, I was in really great shape. So I really thought I would probably just try to turn around, and I was hoping to get back in there in August or September. I've sent a couple names to my agents and stuff, some things that I think would make sense for me moving forward. So I would like to to jump back in there. And by the end of the summer, August, September, I like to fight in the summer. I like to train in the summer. A little bit easier to put training camps together with college wrestlers and stuff being home. So I would like to make the most of the rest of the summer and try to fight in August or September. And I really just want to jump right back into the deep end. There's a lot of guys that'll take kind of feeder fights or fights that make a lot of sense for them. Mismatches, even, if you will. But I would prefer to just get right back in there in the deep end of LFA, a fight that would put me, back at the top of the division. Or I really just want to fight names that are going to get the UFC's attention. So yeah, I'm hoping to jump right back in there against another high level opponent, hopefully.
Yeah. Now, like you mentioned, you sent a couple names to your agent and stuff like that. How do you typically figure out which opponent you kind of want next?
So with the Richie fight, he had been someone I've been keeping an eye on, and he had an LFA fight about a year ago, and I knew he had a lot of hype behind his name. So that one, made a lot of sense to me. I guess I'm not really like a guy that calls people out on the internet and stuff, but just for example, I asked my and nothing has come of it yet. I asked for Nate Jennerman, another Wisconsin guy, because Anthony Pettis was going to be putting on a show in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which is just like 10 minutes from my house. And I fought there a couple times with LFA, and it was awesome. We sold the place out. And that fight got moved to Milwaukee in August now, and I haven't heard anything back. So I don't know what Nate's got going on in this, and this not me like dissing Nate or trying to be disrespectful on the internet, but that's the kind of guy I want to fight. Nate was just on the Ultimate Fighter recently, obviously on the UFC's radar because of that. And he's another local guy as well. He's about an hour from me. So I think that would be a sick showdown between two of Wisconsin's best lightweights. I think that fight makes a lot of sense. So that would be just one example of something I look at.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that'll be a fun matchup, and I definitely think I hope they kind of book that. And on your Instagram and stuff, you posted a picture with Richie and stuff after your matchup. I mean, how do you kind of get in contact with Richie and stuff?
Oh man, we ended up. It was funny. Usually, they kind of give you some space in the back, especially the main events. They get their own locker room at LFA, and usually you're right apart. But something happened with the way they put together the locker rooms. But me and Richie's green rooms ended up like separated by a really thin wall. We were like, our green rooms are right next to each other. So the whole time we were warming up, I could hear him warming up and talking with his coaches, and he could hear me warming up. It was kind of weird, but we ended up leaving right at the same time. We walked out basically the same door next to each other in the green room. So we were just walking out for the night, and I asked him if he wanted to take a picture real quick. He was in the past he had, some antics to sell the fights, and I totally understand that. But I had heard from some mutual friends that train with Richie down at Killcliff in the lead up to the fight that Richie was a good dude and a stand-up guy. And I totally agree. All the interactions I had with him on fight week were respectful, and, I respect his game. So, and I guess one thing is the reason I posted it on social media, sometimes you see fighters post a bunch of stuff leading up to the fight. It's all positive, and then they lose, and you don't hear from them on social media. They don't say a word about, how the fight didn't go their way. So that was important for me to hold my head high, and I got no shame in my game. So yeah, we just ended up walking out the arena at the same time. So
yeah, wow. So how about that? So yes. So with that being said, you mentioned you could hear him and stuff like training and stuff right before your fight. Was that like getting in your head at all and everything like that?
No, it wasn't, man. I've been doing this for a long time now, and by the time the cage door closes, you're going to get in there and, fight with everything you got anyway. So I wouldn't say not really a whole lot gets in my head. There's not really anyone I'm scared of or anything I'm scared of in there. I've kind of seen it all and done it all in MMA. So no, it was a weird experience. I was joking that we should have been like feeding them like fake intel, like, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this. And it was just a different experience than I've ever had. But no, I wouldn't say it was intimidating. And I'm sure Richie felt the same way. We're both high level guys. So I think we were both just ready to get in there.
Yeah, yeah, no, fair enough, man. And obviously, you're a beast and stuff in the cage, but what do you typically like to do outside of the cage, man?
So I really am into running and stuff. So now that I mean I've been back in the gym training, but I've been doing a little bit more running than I would be if I'm in like a full time MMA camp. I've done a lot of triathlons in the past, um, and I'm gonna do my first half marathon in September
Nice.
with a couple of my brothers and my cousins. So I like to stay active. I like to cook. I do most of the cooking in my house, and cooking and running and teaching. I own the gym that I train at. So if I'm not training for myself, I'm teaching BJJ or teaching youth wrestling. So I would say coaching youth wrestling is another one of my passionate hobbies.
Nice, nice. So you mentioned cooking, man. I mean, so you're bringing somebody over to impress them, and you're making your best meal, man. I mean, what do you think your go-to is?
I'm probably gonna do like some sort of like stir fry, something Asian or something Indian, probably.
Nice.
Um, some sort of curry or like a stir fry kind of deal.
Okay, okay. So how'd you kind of get into cooking?
Um, my dad was always the one that cooked in his house in my family, which is a little bit of a reversal of the roles generally. So maybe a little bit inspiration from him. And then in camp you have to eat healthy anyways. So it'd be pretty hard to not cook and do what I need to do to be on a good diet and get down to my weight. So I think the training camp and the cooking kind of go hand in hand. Some guys do the meal preps and stuff like that, but I don't mind cooking. It's kind of relaxing to me and just a fun part of the process
Yeah,
for me.
yeah, yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. And you mentioned a little bit of teaching too. I mean, what's maybe some of the hardest techniques you think to maybe break down for your students?
Hardest techniques to break down. I would say I teach kickboxing. So I guess in general, I always say kickboxing is one of the hardest sports for anyone to pick up naturally. I don't think there's a lot of natural boxers or natural kickboxers. Like you could take like an NBA athlete or an NFL athlete and put the boxing gloves on them, and they're gonna look pretty dorky for a while. And they could pick up most sports and look like an elite athlete. But I think there's something about kickboxing and boxing that is just pretty hard to pick up naturally. So I would say just teaching the striking sports in general can be a little bit more challenging because it's not as fast to pick up. Or you teach jujitsu and people come in with a wrestling background or they're really strong, and that lends itself to grappling sports right away. But I think it's a little bit trickier to teach people how to strike fluently in a short amount of time. I think it's something that just takes a little bit of patience with yourself and as a teacher.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I definitely agree with you there. And another thing I was curious about as well too. Everybody likes to strike and stuff, but what do you typically like to do to teach blocking and to make it exciting?
Oh, talking about defense.
Yes. Yep.
Uh, uh, I stress a lot of the times when we spar and when we do light technical sparring that you really should be focused on your defense and your positioning first. Um, learn how to get comfortable staying, in your fighting stance and kind of in the pocket, and get comfortable seeing the punches and reacting to the punches before you start worrying about your offense. So that's something we stress a lot when we're doing technical sparring or play sparring, is that if I'm not having much luck with offense, then I need to be working on my defense first. And I think a lot of that comes from being in a good stance and being on balance. So that's stuff that we talk a lot about when we're doing striking class.
Nice, nice. And what's maybe some of your favorite music and stuff that you like to play and stuff in your gym?
Favorite music to play in the gym? That's a good question. It kind of depends on the time of training camp, I guess, and the kind of workout we're doing. I will say I've been on a big Shabuzi kick lately. The last couple of days. That's what's been on my Spotify the last couple of days. He's a pretty interesting artist. But I guess if we're doing hard sparring, really getting after it, then it's like some gangster rap like Young Dolph, or just some crazy turned up stuff or metal. And then, as we get closer to the fight and we're doing light sparring and we need to be a little bit more relaxed and taking care of each other, not quite as fired up, then maybe some reggae or Mac Miller, something a little bit lighter. So I joke that when we get closer to the fight, the music comes a little bit more mellow, so we're not all fired up trying to kill each other to some gangster rap and stuff like that. But there's definitely a mix.
Nice. So, do you happen to go to any sort of concerts, anything like that?
I don't do a lot of going out and stuff like that. I'm a pretty busy guy between fighting and running the gym, teaching and coaching. If I have free time, I'm laying pretty low at home, playing UFC on the PlayStation 5 or
Nice.
I watch a lot of fights and a lot of wrestling. If I'm not training, I'm a big fan of the sport, but I also think you can learn a lot from watching. I try to watch some of my favorite fighters that their style kind of reminds me of what I'm doing in there, and take things that they're doing and add it to my game. And then, just keeping an eye on the competition too. Like the last few years I've been on this LFA run. So Friday nights, tonight, UFC Fight Pass, I'll be watching the LFA fights for sure. I like to keep an eye on all the lightweight fights, what's going on. And I'm just a big fan of the LFA in general. So I'll be tuning in to their show tonight, watching those fights. And then I try to watch a lot of the UFC. Anytime there's a lightweight fight on the UFC, early prelims or prelims, I'm keeping a pretty close eye on the guys that I might run into someday.
No, it's definitely awesome. And you mentioned watching LFA and everything like that. I actually have the Oculus, and I've watched it on the Oculus a couple of times.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like have you ever done that or anything like that?
No, I haven't. I have not done that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No, it's definitely awesome because you can like put the thing on, then like I'm kind of in the audience and I can like talk to other audience members, and then like if you're walking out to the cage, you're like kind of like right in front of me basically, and then like when I'm watching it, like I can kind of like watch you guys fight, kind of like I'm at the fight, guess. And then there's like a big screen and everything too, so it's pretty cool, and I think it could potentially be the future and stuff for these video games.
That's wild. I have not seen any footage of that, but I would like to. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say if has like LFA or anything like reached out to you or anything like that about like that Oculus stuff.
No, I haven't done anything with the Oculus stuff, but I always try to compliment them on the production that they put forth. I really think that outside, I think it's the perfect place to get ready for the UFC. They do a great job putting us in a lot of interviews, and I just feel like it's a really a top-notch professional organization, and the production on fight night is always really high. So I think they're the best spot to be outside of the UFC, and it shows in the amount of fighters that they're putting on UFC shows every week. So I feel really grateful to have been on their platform. So I haven't seen the Oculus stuff, but it has been a blessing to work with LFA so much in my career.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And you mentioned, LFA helps you get a lot of interviews and stuff. And in my personal opinion, I think just in general, I think a lot of people, including myself, I happen to do it too. We ask a lot of the same questions and stuff. But what was maybe a question you wish maybe an interviewer might ask you to kind of, help maybe get your name out there a little bit more?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. And I guess I'll take a second to think about it. But I guess the image that I'm always trying to put forth. I work with kids a lot. So I try to stay really positive in everything that I'm putting on social media, and my image as a fighter, I try to keep it like really professional and really. I'm not faking anything. I don't have a gimmick. I'm not running my mouth to get attention. All of the attention I've gotten is really just due to my skills and, the guys that I've beaten and the guys that I've fought, the strength of schedule that I have. So I guess I just want I just want to be seen as a real fighter. And I think I get a lot of respect from my fellow fighters. I might not be the most popular, have the biggest social media image, but I think the biggest thing that's important to me is I think I have a lot of respect from other fighters that are at the similar level that I am, and that's what I've always been. I just want to be seen for my skills and my hard work and my grittiness, and having I want to be a positive role model for the students that I have. I want to show that there's a way to do it without making yourself look like an ass on the internet. So I guess that's just what I've been trying to get across.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely think that's a solid answer, man. And, I'm also a Taekwondo teacher myself. I've been teaching for 6 years. I've been training for 19 years. So I started when I was 5 years old. And with that being said, with all the different guys I have in my gym, what advice would you give them? Keep on coming into the gym and to keep on getting better and better every day.
That's really cool that you do my brother has been a karate guy his whole life, and he's one of my training partners. So I have a lot. I don't do any no spinny shit. I can't throw heel kicks. I can't throw tornado kicks. I can't spin and do anything. It's not in my skill set. So I have a lot of respect for guys that can do that stuff. I think it takes a lot of athleticism and flexibility and body control. So a lot of respect. Sometimes those guys get not as much respect as they should, but what you do is I can't do any of the stuff that you do. So respect to that. But my advice would be consistency and sticking with it I think the reason I'm at where I'm at is I just kept going. I could have retired at 0-1. I could have quit when I was 2-2. And I didn't. I just stayed at it. And I think another thing that I talk about a lot is the learning process. Like if I come into the gym and I can double leg this partner that I have every single time we wrestle him, or I can hit him with my 1-2 low kick 100 times. If I just do that every day, I'm never going to get any better. I have to put myself in situations in training where I'm working on things that I need to get better at. If I can out grapple everyone in the room all the time, that's awesome, but I can't out grapple everyone in the world every time. So I try to put myself and encourage my students to, sometimes we have to focus on winning and dominating in training. Like the fight is getting close and now I have to just be really, really sharp and in control. But a lot of times when I'm training, I will put myself at disadvantages or put myself out of my comfort zone in order to work on different skills. And a lot of times that ends up, guys that maybe don't beat me all the time, or I don't think should be beating me are beating me in training sometimes because I'm trying to work on weaknesses or put myself out of my comfort zone. So I think that is really important is, you got to work on all parts of your game. If I gotta work on my weaknesses and my strengths, but especially my weaknesses.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Kegan, man, it's been awesome talking to you. What's maybe your final message out there for the fans watching this video?
I appreciate you having me on today. I really enjoyed doing these interviews and podcasts and stuff. So I appreciate everyone that tuned in. If you could follow me on my social media, on Instagram, just my first and last name, Kegan Genrich, that would be awesome. But keep an eye out for me coming back on LFA, hopefully towards the end of the summer, or, keep an eye out for me on a short notice call up. I have a great agency that's putting guys in Iridium on short notices all the time. So I'm going to stay ready and hopefully you'll see me back in there in the next 2 to 3 months.
Let's go. Yeah, no, we're definitely looking forward to seeing you back there maybe in the next 2 to 3 months. And Kegan, it's been awesome talking to you, man. We're looking forward to it. And hopefully we can do another one in the future. Thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you, man, very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. You're awesome. All right, man. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, cool, man. Thank you.